Hey friend, John McLennan here, and in this video you're going to learn how to play the guitar solo to Need to Know by Tom Petty. Now in case you missed it, I did post a lesson detailing out the rhythm and the chords for this entire song, so I'll link that up down below in case you haven't seen that. But in this video we're honing in on the solo, which comes a little bit later in the tune. It's kind of like the bridge of the song. It's 9 bars long and uses some great, just classic rock guitar licks. I'm gonna break it down for you step by step. But before we dive into it, if you're new to the channel, I've got a gift for you. I wanna put something in your hand right away and give you this awesome resource that's gonna help you with your soloing and learning the neck. I put together just a 1-page PDF that shows you the system that I use for basically mapping out the fretboard. So I use 5 chords and 5 scales, and once you get those down, you can use this for any style of music. You'll know your major and minor scales, and you'll know your major and minor pentatonic scales. So you can grab that completely for free. Just use the first link down below, or you can go to johnmclennan.com/fretboard guide. So be sure to grab that guide, and with that said, let's break it down. All right, so at this point in the song, as I mentioned, it's sort of like the bridge. It comes in a little bit later, and the band goes to an A chord. And I just kind of had a rhythm part where I was bashing away, playing eighth notes just on the A chord there. Now, you can think about this A chord at the 5th fret, which is a very common bar chord here, 5, 7, 7, 6, 5, 5. And what Mike Campbell does is he slides in with this very common, I call it like a Chuck Berry guitar lick here, a double stop, because I got this from Johnny B. Goode, but it sounds like this. So we've got basically 2 bars of the 5th fret on the 2nd string and also on the 1st string. So I'm grabbing both of those notes, and then he's sliding into it on certain beats. Okay, so from there I would just dip down to the 4th fret and then slide into the 5th fret. So we start on the 1st downbeat. I'm gonna use all down strums, 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and with the strum hand. Then we're gonna go 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and. Okay, so I slid in on the 1, and then on beat 3 to start, so 1 and 2 and 3 and 4, then the very last one, and. Okay, that's the first measure. So 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and. Then in the second measure, we keep it going and we slide in on the and to 2. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and. So it's sort of a 2-bar figure there. We're gonna go all together. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and. And again, all of that is over the A chord, and you can just think of it as part of the A chord that you're sliding into. That's why it works, because it's a chord tone. And we have this dissonance here where we're actually playing a half step off, which would be like the worst thing to play, and then it resolves into the chord. So it sounds really cool together. Here it is. From there, we go into this lick. Now this is doing a unison bend is what I call this here, and I learned this from Jimi Hendrix, but here we're gonna bend up the 7th fret of the 3rd string, and then we're gonna play the 5th fret on the 2nd string. So it sort of bends up and then goes to the adjacent string. So we're gonna go 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and. So they're all quarter notes, 1, 2, 3 until beat 4, 4 and. So 1, 2, 3, 4 and. Then we go 1 and 2 and. Okay, now here, when we get into this next bar, when we do the bend, we're actually gonna let it ring and go. So see how I got kind of the rub of both of those notes? Where before I was going, and not letting them ring over. So in the second measure, it rings over. So all together, 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and that's 5, 5. And then while that's bent up, then I play the 7th fret and bring it back down. So it's a bend and then a release back down. Then from there, you go back to the first 2 bars, the Johnny Be Good lick again. So that's gonna go 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and... All right, so chord-wise, just to look at the chords for a second, we're starting on the A. Then we go to E. Now when we go to the E, that's where Mike goes to this unison bend here. And notice that he's bending into the note. That note is actually E. So he's just bending into the root note. So he's kind of following the chords. A little bit of the A chord. E chord. Back to the A chord. Then we finish like this. All right, so what happens here is we bend up that 7th fret on the 3rd string, and then we're gonna let that ring, and then grab 5 on the 2nd string and the open 1st string, which those are both the note E. So you get this kind of cool blend of all of those together. They're basically all E notes. You have bending into the E note on the 3rd string, an E note on the 2nd string fretted, and then an open E note on the 1st string. So you get this. And they're not all gonna be perfectly in tune, so that's what makes this cool. So here you go. Now you leave that bent and then you release it down. So 1, 2, 3, and 4. Then on beat 4, you play the open 2nd and 1st strings. And then this is tough to tell. This is the last note here. He either slides in from the 2nd fret to the 4th fret there on the 3rd string, A up to B, or he bends. I like bending. It's tough to tell. So if that's too hard for you to bend down there, you can just slide. So you can go. You can kind of get all that ring, which sounds really cool. Or you could bend it. That sounds really cool too. So here's the whole thing. We're gonna put it all together now. And just also one final note, when you do this, and you bend into that B note, the band actually goes from an E to a B. So here's the E, then B. They're going to that chord. So it all follows the chords. So here it is, strung all those licks together. 1, 2, 3, 4. Then from there you go back to the chorus. I need to know if you think you're gonna leave, then you're gonna say so. So let's add in a little bit of the rhythm behind it so you can hear what it sounds like with the chords as well. 1, 2, 3, 4. So take your time with that solo and be sure to work it out bar by bar. And one of the things you really want to do is play along with the recording. So I recommend being able to loop the recording somehow and just go to that spot, maybe even slow it down and just work on it over and over until your fingers are basically lining up with what you hear on the recording. And to help you put this together even more, be sure to grab my Ultimate Fretboard Guide. It ties in directly with what we're talking about, with being able to see the chord shapes and then play off of the chords. And I want you to have it as my gift to you completely for free. Just go to johnmclennan.com/fretboardguide or use the first link down below. As always, thanks for watching, thanks for listening. Hope you have an amazing day, and we'll see you in another video real soon.